Bad plays games.
Hello, Pioneers. I hope you're well. My name is Bed, and this is the Satisfactory Plus mod for the game Satisfactory. On the last episode, we built this awesome factory to do crushing, sorting, mixing, all that great stuff, and I just love it. I think it is literally the best factory that I have ever built. And on this episode, we're going to take the outputs of all of these machines, smelt them down using blast furnaces, and start mixing and matching all that molten metal. We have just a few things we need to do first. Building the factory from the ground up without a plan and having our factory be everywhere all at once. I'm starting to realize a key feature that we're going to need to keep in mind is how we're going to blend different builds together as we start reaching for the stars up here, adding random curves, trimming the buildings like these pillars here. So blending these pillars into future builds is going to give the entire factory a bit of a more cohesive feel. So we're going to try to do that as much as possible. And right down here is another place I thought that would look pretty good. Yes, this random 4x4 foundation I thought would look pretty good if we extended it right into there and then made it all concrete. So let's give it a try. Yeah, that's perfect. Now this actually looks like it would be a pillar supporting this line right here, so our factory doesn't look like it's magically floating. Maybe even put a roof on this floor. There's a lot of components. Anyway, that's enough decorating for right now. I did enough of that last episode. I want to get into molten metals, finally. Let's extend our little platform out so we have a little bit more room to work with. That looks pretty good. Now from these two sorters, we're going to get 90 crushed copper each, so that's 180 total per minute, and we're getting 60 crushed zinc for each one. To get molten zinc, we actually need 60 crushed zinc per minute, so that means we're going to be able to run two lines directly into two blast furnaces from each of those sorters, creating 60 molten zinc per minute. So let's do that. Let's figure out which line is which. Alright, that's the zinc one, which is excellent to know. Let's just try something. Let's play around with that blueprint we made last episode. What if we spread out just a little bit though? That's supposed to be what we're doing. So now we run a line of the crushed zinc right into the blast furnace and select molten zinc. It's going to give us 30 per minute. Now we can do the exact same thing on this side, giving us 60 molten zinc per minute. Now we can add another one right there to process this metal. And now to process that 180, remember we're getting 90 per minute of the crushed copper out of these two machines. And we need 60, 90 plus 90 is 180, divided by 3 is 60. So let's give ourselves a little bit more room and put another blast furnace right here, elevated, just in the same manner. Then we can do the exact same thing on this other side. Hook them up to the copper. And then after figuring out the exact center spot between these, I happen to use metal pillars to do a quick little count. We can put a third one. And then we'll be able to feed this one using splitters and mergers. So to do that, let's just put an elevated... Yeah, just like that. Now we'll plug a merger in. And then we can do splitter there, splitter there. There, I love it. And this can be deleted. Let's select molten copper for the recipe. This is going to give us 30, 60, 90 molten copper per recipe. And each machine gives us 10 molten slag, which right now is going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 molten slag per minute. But we're going to have to process all of this into the blast furnaces before we know exactly how much of the molten slag we're going to have to deal with. So there, that's what we're going to do conceptually. Now we have to do the exact same thing with these 4 rubite sorters. The only difference being we're going to have one for molten tin and one for crushed lead. Once again, the lead are going to run 1-to-1 into 4 blast furnaces. And then we're going to do 6 crushed tin blast furnaces, and we'll split it just like we did these. We're going to have so much tin. I just realized doing this that we can't let these back up either. I can't just let the tin back up, because if I do, we're not going to be getting our lead anymore, which isn't good. I'm not really sure how to deal with that, to be honest. I guess we're just going to have to turn it into something like tin wire and sink it, right? It's alright, we'll get there. This is going to be a long process. Now we should be able to just daisy chain all of these machines together and they'll start right up. Check for all the green lights. Perfect. This will tell us if we've missed selecting a recipe or we're inputting the wrong material. Yeah, but here's the dark one. Must have forgotten to select the recipe. We did, and this is zinc. There it goes. Okay, so here we have our factory floor. It's perfect. Everything is neat, clean, tidy. However, we're going to need a lot of copper. Like a lot. Because copper goes here into brass, and it also goes into molten bronze. Another use for that tin. So we're going to need so much copper. You know what though? We happen to have an alternate recipe. Heavy copper. By adding a little bit of molten iron, we can get a 50% increase in the molten copper. That's going to be huge. So we're going to do that. So we need to pause what we're doing right now, and we need to get molten iron into the mix somewhere. Since this is a perfect floor, I don't want to mess with it. I'm not willing to do that. So we need to go a little bit higher and a little bit further out to find a little bit more stereotype. I was just messing around with the numbers, and I remembered somebody either left me a comment on YouTube or told me in my Discord. And if you want to join my Discord and talk about Satisfactory Plus with a bunch of people that love it, join it. It's awesome, and the link is down in the description below. But anyway, somebody was telling me that the alternate sloppy brass is actually way easier and better than the brass from the molten stuff, because you just need copper ingots and zinc ingots to get brass ingots, as opposed to the other way, which I neglected to remember. That molten brass actually requires crushed iron in addition to the molten zinc and the molten copper, which is not something I'm really prepared to bring in right now. So sloppy it is. Okay, that was pretty easy. And now it's time to actually mess with the liquids. But remember, we're going to do that downstairs. And not down here. This is just to process the crushed stone. And not even process it. This is literally not tall enough for a constructor. It's just to run belts that way so we can process it in a minute. But down here, this is where we're going to process the liquids because we have all the water. And now I wonder, can I actually, let's see, just checking for head lift issues. It's actually not even hooked up. That's a bad test. Okay, so it doesn't have enough head lift to get up here, which is fine. That was an oversight on my part, not an oversight. Let me rephrase that. We don't have enough head lift to go up 4 meters. So I actually can't have the floor right here and then have them on pedestals. I need to go down. Excuse me. What? Alright, let's remove all these machines. And the pedestals. And the floor. Okay, that was easy. Let's just add a wall. And then delete this. I did this really inefficiently. Alright, and there. Now this is where we can add our floor. There, our new floor is done. So this is going to be where we start our solidification factory. Oh dear. This is okay. We can extend it that way as well. I don't actually want to be out over the water, which I now suspect this is. Yeah, just a little bit. This will be fine. I stopped and made that joke earlier about this just being for the running of the belts, but you know what? I should probably run the pipes down here too, because this is, you know, essentially a logistics floor. And that would make the most sense, as long as we can do it neatly so we don't have all the belts and pipes being spaghetti all over the place. Something like that and that. There. Now let's send some pipe down. Now we've got molten lead and slag. The first step in cleanup is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That actually works out really well. That's 15 times 10 molten slag per minute, or 150 molten slag per minute, which happens to be twice one recipe. Wait, what? Twice one cycle of a single recipe. 75 times 2 is 150. So we're going to have 60 carbon dioxide per minute, 100 cold slag, and 40 sulfur per minute, which is going to be awesome. So let's deal with that first. Every single output on the southeast side is going to be slag. So we can extend the floor. And then how do we want to do this? Alright, since we want all the slag to come in this direction, and we want all the good molten metals to go that direction, it makes the most sense to do what? Okay, let's have the belts go down with the crushed stone, all of those. Drop down this way and head off this way like we had planned previously. That's on the base level, so we need to start raising up the fluids. So let's take the pipeline support, line it up right here and click it up, not once, but twice. And then let's take a pipe. Yeah, and we'll run as far as we can before adding junctions to it. Okay, and now let's do T-pipes again. Okay, I'm going to do that same exact thing, except I am going to move it down one. I think the pipe at this height will have enough clearance for items on the belts, and it actually gives us a little bit more room that we would need compared to this level. There, and now we can connect it down to a single pipe, because we're getting 150 total, which is the flow rate of the Mark 1 pipes, and we can process it somewhere else, like right there. And now we can start moving the crushed stone down as well. Let's do that. Alright, get all our belts run down, and then the belts connected this way. Now these lines are 30 per minute, so we can do 30, 60, 90, 120. We can do 4 at a time. We have a weird odd number, 9. So let's just do, we'll do 3 sets of 3. And then we have to grab the furthest one, because that one has to go first. Alright, there's our 3 stone belts now. Okay, actually it's 4 stone belts, right? These 3 have 90, this one has 120. I should unlock RSS signs so I can label my belts, but we're going to do that later. Somebody commented in the last video that the base is growing in such a way that they would get very confused as to where everything is and where you need to go. And yeah, it's very confusing. Alright, after a little rudimentary measuring again, we can add this one, support hole for the ceiling. Okay, now I think I can run, let's see, run a pipe like that. And this is going to be, what was this, our zinc, I'm pretty sure. We'll run a pipe there, run a pipe there, get ourselves another T-junction, and try to line it up. That looks pretty good, actually. And then this marks the center, so we'll put another T-junction. And then get rid of that, that, and that. And our center mark. I love it. And now we can just run this on the ceiling. And I think that should fit. Perfect. So that's how we're going to do it. We're going to do this for all of them. Another awesome thing that the wiki has on it is the colors for a lot of things. So I can just go there, type in molten slag, and I know that this is the color for molten slag. And we can color code our pipes. I can do the same thing with molten tin, molten lead. Let's see how close that looks. Oh, I'm going to go back and do the florals. I forgot to. Yeah, it looks really close. Do you know what? I'm going to stop painting stuff because I have to run more pipe first. I'll wait till the end and do it all. But just know, you can check on the wiki to get the color. I was just thinking about where to run floor holes from down here, because these grids aren't matched up. Like the belts over, or the pipes I mean on this side are gonna have to run a lot, not as far. So I think I'm gonna stop running pipes upstairs till I figure out where I want the pipes down here. So let's figure out what we wanna do. Okay, so the amount of bronze we're gonna make is the only thing I'm pretty sure about for the moment. Or at the moment, I mean. So, let's see. Let's add a flexible blast furnace again. Because this is how we're going to mix the materials together. Let me just line that up. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. That to get molten bronze, we're going to mix the tin and the copper in the flexible blast furnace. We're going to use 30 of our 90 copper and then 10 of our 180 tin. And it's going to give us 30 molten bronze per minute. This is getting really complicated. I should have planned. I want to do it right here. If I can get that, if that's straight anyway. And then, is that straight? That looks like it's going to be straight. Alright, yeah, okay. So here, now we've got molten bronze. So for that we only need 10 cubic meters of water per minute. For purposes of factory decorating and building, I think I want to just kind of hide the spaghetti. Yeah, okay, so here's our way up. Here's the door in. And I think what we'll do is just wall this part off and wall it up that way, and call it good. It's kind of the price we're going to pay for having all these weird mixed grids off angle, if we do end up doing more of that. So it's not going to end up looking right anyway. And let's see which is which for this. Alright, this is bronze and this is slag. So the slag will go downstairs to another processing floor. And the bronze we're going to run right into a solidifier cooler system. Alright, I think we can put this right here. Let's see if that lines up, because we only need one. Actually, the 30 molten bronze per minute is going to give us 120 ingots, which is all we're going to produce in this factory of the bronze. 30 molten bronze turns into 120 per minute. Okay, 10 per minute water. So let's bring some water over. I think that's straight. Yeah, it is. Ah, it's so cool. It's so easy, honestly. Having all this infrastructure is going to be pretty great. So imagine this. I'm downstairs working on all this fun new molten stuff. And then I realized, okay, for bronze frames, I need screws and the bronze beams I'm planning to make. And then I need to turn some bronze ingots into bronze plates. Now, bronze pipes don't really have a use beyond unlocks yet in Satisfactory Plus, so I don't need to produce those in mass. But I do know bronze plates are eventually used to make conveyor parts, so I'm going to want to make some of those. Okay? But the point is that I need screws for bronze frames. And remember, I'm not making any stereotype in this. And I wanted molten iron earlier. Looking at screws, I can make cast iron screws directly out of molten iron. And look at this, only 10 molten iron is needed to make 120 screws. That's a ton. And I could use a little bit of molten iron to add to make heavy copper, to make the copper go farther. So I haven't used up the lead yet, but I'm going to make lead frames out of that. I already know that. Oh, and you know what? That leads me to my next point. Lead frames also need screws, right? So I should be making molten iron in this factory so I can make the screws needed to make lead frames, which are going to be produced here, bronze frames, which are going to be produced here. And yeah, so that made me realize that I have way, way, way too much tin and no iron. So what I'm going to do is retrofit this, and it's going to be actually, I think, pretty easy because if you remember, I have those 3 machines right there and these 3 machines right here making mixed rubite. Let's type that in right here. rubite. Rubite is used in mixed rubite, where you mix equal parts of stereotyte and rubite to get double or more of the crushed rubite, right? But they also have mixed stereotyte, which is the same input, but it's just iron out instead. And so, yeah, I don't need so much tin, but I do need iron. So I'm going to actually change up this production line, and all I have to do that, funny enough, is change the recipe right here to mixed stereotyte. I think.
Bad plays games.
Bad plays games.
Bad plays games.
Bad plays games.
Bad plays games. Bad